So I'll tell you about this fellow and his two musician friends here. Of course, you've probably heard Tim Huss, and hopefully some of you are familiar with his music, but if you are not, you're in for a real treat tonight, because this is good, solid, authentic music from, well, Tim was born in BC, but I think he lives in Sundre now, so we'll claim him as an Alberta boy. And it's time to be proud of Canada and our culture and our heritage. Sometimes we always think we don't have a culture, but we do. We're different than any other country. We're different than other people. We've got something, and we should cherish that. And it starts right here in the community with folk clubs, people that play folk music, whether they make it, write it, or whether they listen to it. We're all part of this wonderful thing in this. That's why I love the folk club and what it's all about. The audience, you've been great tonight, and people know that folk club audiences actually listen, and it's great. Anyway, I got a quote. Tim, you probably heard it a million times, but I liked it because it's poetic, and I think it suits you. I don't know if you wrote it or not, but I'm going to read it. So here it is in quotation marks. A voice sweeter than a Husqvarna chainsaw, wit sharper than rusty barbed wire, and a list of songs longer than the Saskatchewan fence line. So I think that says mostly what we need to know. What I like about original music, Monty illustrated that too, is all the details, all the images, because every word is a picture, right? And I'd like you to listen to the lyrics of Tim's songs and the music. I'll just quickly introduce his two buddies here, and then I'll shut up. We got Tyler Allen. That's over there. I didn't get a chance to meet you, Tyler. And Ryan Tubbs on bass. Yeah. So take her away, Tim Huss.
Songs, I'm just a happy roving cowboy. I'm herding the dark clouds out of the sky, keeping the heavens blue. I ain't got a dime, just a wasting my time, just a happy roving cowboy. Let me sing my songs till they call me home. Saturday night at the Lethbridge Folk Club, Army, Navy, Air Force Club, downtown Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. We've got a coast-to-coast Canadian country cowboy music show for you. Thanks for being here. My name's Tim Huss. On behalf of myself and the boys in the band, Tyler Allen on banjo and Telecaster guitar, Riley Tubbs on the big lumber. Come on, let's all of you enjoy yourselves. Right along while I sing my songs. I'm just a happy roving cowboy. Yeah, I'm herding the dark clouds out of the sky, keeping my heavens blue. I ain't got a dime, just a wasting my time, just a happy roving cowboy. Let me sing my songs till they call me home, till the land they are. All right, thank you so kindly. And we're underway. Let's ease into things here. Here's a little cowboy song. This is the story of the man with the big hat. In a little bar in Alberta, on a sultry summer day, a cowboy came in off the road just to pass the time away. On the stool up at the bar, traders on the plains. Talk about the Frank slide and the coming of the trains. I could tell you stories about the bison herds that roam. Sing you the song of settlers come out looking for a home. And the man with the big hat is buying. Drink up while the drinking is free. Drink to the cowboys, dead or dying. Drink to all the rounders and me. His hat was white and black. The pants that once were blue were gray. They had a pocket gone in back. He had a finger missing from the hand that rolled the smoke. As he laughed and talked to cowboy life, he knew it wasn't no joke. He said, I rode on cattle drives from here to Saskatoon. 10 days in the saddle and weary to the bone. I rode from here to Peace River without a woman's smile. The campfire where I cooked my grub was the only light for miles. And the man with the big hat is buying. Drink up while the drink is free. He talked all about the times he'd had while living on the trail. The silence never broke as the words poured from his lips, just as quiet as a buck knife that rested on his hip. He said, I've seen the day so hot that your pony could not stand, and if your water bag ran dry, well, don't start counting on the land. Winters, I've seen winters when your boots froze in the snow. Your only thought was leaving, but you had nowhere to go. And the man with the big hat is buying. Drink up while the drinking is free. Cigarette, then he turned towards the door. I could hear the spurs a jingling as the boot heels hit the floor. He tightened up his belt a notch, pulled his hat down on his head, and as he turned to leave, he turned to me. Now this is what the cowboy said. Now the highlands chase the highways, the fences close the range. To see a working cowboy is a sight that's mighty strange. The cowboy's life is lonely and his love life's not the best. But if it had not been for folks like me, then you would not have no West. And the man with the big hat is buying. Drink up Easygoing on the 46th season of the Lethbridge Folk Club. Boy, that's pretty impressive, eh? That's since the late 70s. That's the same as me. And I've actually been here 3 times. Each time it was a different venue. First we played upstairs down the street, and then we played at the college the next time, and now at the Army and Navy, Air Force. So you move around a little bit. It seems like it to me, at least. But hey, I'm going to sing you a railway song here. What a nice trestle bridge you have at Lethbridge. This is a great place to sing a song about the Canadian Pacific Railway. You know, my father, he worked for the CPR repairing boxcars up at the Ailiff Yards in Calgary, and he said, Tim, you can sing cowboy songs, but make sure you always do at least one railway song, because I don't think anybody that goes to a music concert is interested in attending a concert without a railway song. Pretty hard to argue with that. So we've been a traveling outfit for a lot of years, and we consider ourselves very fortunate traveling out of Alberta, but we get to visit all the provinces, been way up Northern Territories, and almost every place you can be in this country. And we've written a lot of songs about the places we've been and the people we've met, so that's what we've got in store for you here. Is a little bit of a Canadian country music travelogue show, singing songs from all across the country, and we're usually not too far away from the rails of the Canadian Pacific, and the story of settling Western Canada is kind of the story of the railway. So if you like railway songs, hope you like this one. This is a brand new Canadian classic here, I wrote for my old man. Down at the depot, standing in the rain, looking down the track, waiting for the train. Feeling the same way so many have before. Pioneers, prime ministers, and soldiers from war. Canadian Pacific, take me away, all across the land on Van Horn's Railway. Out in the Dominion, somewhere in the night, steel rails take me home just one more time. The last iron spike, see the shining sea, John A. MacDonald and the National Train. High in the canyon, hear the hammers ring, making a main line of diesel and steam. Canadian Pacific, take me away, all across the land on Van Horn's Railway. Out in the Dominion, somewhere in the night, steel rails take me home just one more time. Selkirks and snow sheds, the big hill and field, building your bridges and blasting the shield. Pulp and paper, timber, grain and ore, from waterfront station to the Atlantic shore. Is over at the Great Divide, send my last request down telegraph wire. Scatter my ashes on the rolling boxcars, and I'll ride away on the CPR. Canadian Pacific, take me away, all across the land on Van Horn's Railway. Somewhere in the night, steel rails take me home just one more time. you. You want to hear it again? All right, there's a coast-to-coast Canadian song. So we'll do you a couple. I'll take you out to the Atlantic provinces here. We'll do a couple from maybe the East Coast, a couple from the West Coast, and a whole bunch from in between. So I'll do a song I wrote in Nova Scotia. So we played this. We played at La Have, Nova Scotia, and we set up at the community hall. And then our promoter that night was this guy named Alan Parnett, and he had us up for supper at the house. And he had this great big old house with big timber barns and big timbers up in the ceiling and stuff. And I commented on it. I said, "Boy, this is quite the house you live in." And he said, "Oh, this house has been in my family for a long, long time. My great great grandfather was Colonel Parnett. He was the aide-de-camp. That's the right-hand man to General Wolfe at the Battle of Plains of Abraham at Quebec City. And for his participation, he was deeded this property, and this was his house, and he's buried out the window there on the hillside." And I said, "Seriously, you're a direct descendant from the Battle of the Plains of Abraham?" And he said, "Oh, you like that Canadian historical stuff?" And he went rummaging around in the attic, and he came down with a musket that had 1673 or something like that engraved in the stock, which is, I guess those are the kind of stories you get in the older parts of Canada. And but that's not too far away from Liverpool, Nova Scotia, where the Hank Snow Museum is. And Liverpool is only 3 miles from Brooklyn, Nova Scotia. That's the birthplace of Hank Snow. So Hank Snow was just a little guy, only about 5 feet tall. But they've got, that's the ideal height, for sure. Just ask Hank Snow. And they've actually got one of Hank Snow's performing suits here at the National Music Centre in Calgary. And if you see the suit, the first thing you'll say is, "Boy, that's a pretty small suit." And the second thing you'll say is, "Boy, they sure put a lot of rhinestones on a suit that small." But Hank Snow from little Brooklyn, Nova Scotia, he sold 80 million albums, if you can believe that. And it's always been the case. When I think of Nova Scotia, I think about Hank Snow. So this is a song I wrote for Hank Snow and his many fans. Nova Scotia, down in the Maritimes, green Annapolis Valley and the blue Atlantic tide, Digby and Cape Breton and the shores of Peggy's Cove. When I think of Nova Scotia, I think about Hank Snow. He was born down in Brooklyn on the beautiful South Shore, ran away and went to sea as a cabin boy. Jimmy Rogers on the radio was the music that he heard. A 12-year-old on a schooner that sailed from Lunenburg. Strings on a guitar that he bought from the pages of Ted Meetings, more ever covered rock on CHNS Halifax in 1933. He became the yodeling ranger, and the rest is history. For the people really loved his style, and soon there came the day he made a Bluebird record and he signed with RCA. With his trick horse Shawnee and his young wife Minnie Blanche, they lived down in Tennessee on the famous Rainbow Ranch. Britain bid the golden sun to rise. The fragrance of the apple blossoms kiss the new-kissed dawn. Down in dear old Nova Scotia, the place where I was born. Scotian and the Ocean Limited and a Maritime Express, their mighty engines throbbing make their way towards the west. Sturdy fishing schooners ways lazily to and fro. Nova Scotia is my sanctuary, and I love her so. All across this great dominion I have traveled far and wide, where the shore down in Vancouver kissed the blue Pacific tide. Across the snow-capped Rockies I saw the wheat fields golden blaze. Take me back to Nova Scotia, where this ocean boy was raised. Where Freddie Robin Redbreast seeks his younglings in the trees. The French dialect in old Quebec keeps calling out to me. It seems to say, be on your way, there's a welcome at your door, where the kinfolk are awaiting on that great Atlantic shore. Down through beautiful New Brunswick, across the PEI, the rock-bound coast of Newfoundland, I love them till I die. If God came here on earth to place a find he could rest, I take him to my Nova Scotia home, the place that I love best. Scotia, down in the Maritimes, green Annapolis Valley and the blue Atlantic tide, Digby and Cape Breton and the shores of Peggy's Cove. When I think of Nova Scotia, I think about Hank Snow. When I think of Nova Scotia, I think about Hank Snow. True story. When I think of Nova Scotia, I think about Hank Snow. All right, other end of the country here now. British Columbia. It's true, I've been touring out of Alberta for a long time. And living on the Cowboy Trail there at Sudbury. But I'm originally from Kootenay Lake, southern British Columbia. Hey, you know, Ian Tyson's from Vancouver Island, eh? You know, all of the top Alberta country singers. But when I came out of high school there in British Columbia, my first job was as a tree planter, and then my second job was in a logging camp. And hey, if anyone ever offers you a job as a tree planter, you should pass. But it was in the logging camp where I first started learning to play the guitar and write songs. And if anybody here is interested in getting into show business, this is the route that I recommend. Because it was a remote camp, so we'd be in for a couple of weeks at a time. And everybody was entertainment starved, and very best of all, everyone was pretty much deaf from chainsaws and generators. So that's kind of where I got my first song. My first song was about there's logging camps and timber tramps and sawdust makers and all that. So, big timber out west. It's been raining for 8 days straight, hauling timber off the big jumble. Creeks going over the banks, the roads turning into gumbo. Big waves are rolling from the mountain to the mill. There's a logger who's so to the bone, but he's a working still. And there's big wood timber coming down, down, down. Big wood timber coming down. He came out west in 17, the biggest trees he'd ever seen. Way back when the land was raw, he heard the singing of the crosscut saw. The foreman said, son, are you able to work the end of a choker key? Attica spruce. And there's big wood timber coming down, down, down. Big wood timber coming down. Shoulders broad in the back from driving the wedges and swinging the axe. Father's prayer and the lumberjack law. Sawdust flying from a two-stroke saw. 30 below in the winter time. Tamarack fir and lodgepole pine. A feather and a puncher and a skinner to drag. A good one lost to a fallen snag. And there's big wood timber coming down. Down, down, big wood timber coming down. There's a big John Bridge on the river wide and a sunken barge at the lock dump site. Loaded trucks lock their horns on an icy road in the early morning. Drifting snow and blowing rain. Double shifting on a choker chain. Skidder rolled over on the ridge. Mudslide road and a washed out bridge. And there's a big wood timber coming down, down, down. Big wood timber coming down. There's big wood timber coming down, down, down. Big wood timber coming down. All right, that was my very first song. Written a lot since then. None of them have gotten any better. All right, transport trucking song now. I've written quite a few trucking songs, and I guess it's because we spend an awful lot of time on the highways. I didn't realize at first when I got started that I should have picked a smaller country to write songs about. But as it turns out, we spend an awful lot of time on the highways, so we got certain kinship with the truckers and the diesels and the greyhounds and all of that. So when I recorded my first album, I had a trucking song on that, and then my second album had a trucking song, and then the third one, before the third one came out, people asked if I was going to put a trucking song on that, and I did, and I've had a trucking song on every album. And then at one point, the Alberta Motor Transport Association, that's the Truckers Association of Alberta, came and hired me as their spokesperson. So if you'd like that job, now you know how you can get that way. But here's a British Columbia trucking song, one of my early ones. This is about a guy rolling out of Prince George. He's got a big load of hydro poles on. I sang the song in Prince George, and a guy said he sure loved this song. I had to sing it like 2 or 3 times for him in the concert. Kept yelling for it, and I said, "Boy, you sure like that trucking song from Prince George?" He said, "Oh yeah, I'm from." This is what he said for real. He said, "Oh yeah." I said, "You're from around here?" He said, "Oh yeah, I'm from Prince George. I was born in Prince George, raised in Prince George, lived in Prince George my whole life." And he leaned in and he said, "If I could live anywhere in the world, I'd live in Smithers." Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny too. Better steelhead fishing, I guess, or something. But all right, so this song's about a truck driver from Prince George, BC. He's got a load of hydro poles on, which is a step up from a log truck driver, and he's rolling down Highway 97 through places like Williams Lake and Quesnel and 150 Mile House and 100 Mile House and 70 Mile House and 30 Mile House. I always get confused in that stretch. I always forget how far it is from 70 Mile House to 100 Mile House. I think it's like 52 kilometers. Yeah, finally we get to Cache Creek, the Trans-Canada Highway, and through the Hell's Gate Canyon and what they call the Snake Pit, all those S-curves at the south end of the canyon. But this Prince George truck driver, he's in a big hurry to get out to the coast because he's got a girl waiting for him. So this is kind of the most romantic of the BC trucking songs that I've got. Well, I pulled out of Prince George with a load of hydro poles. Got a lot of miles behind me and a long way to go. This Peterbilt diesel keeps me moving on. I'm pounding out the miles on a truck driver's song. Yeah, I gotta keep on rolling. Got no time to stop. Gotta get back to the girl in White Rock. I told her I'd be home tonight. She said, no you won't. She'll be damned if I do and I'll be damned if I don't. Through the Thompson Canyon, all the hells get run. Roll this load on down the road and I get this deal done. I gotta keep on rolling. I got no time to stop. Gotta get back to the girl in White Rock. There's hot coffee and hope, and I'd like to have some too. They don't got a girl waiting on the way that I do. So I'll stop off at the weigh scale and I'll be on my way. And roll me right out home tonight, back on Boundary Bay. I gotta keep on rolling, I got no time to stop. Gotta get back to the girl in White Rock. There's hot coffee and hope, and I'd like to have some too. They don't got a girl waiting on the way that I do. So I'll stop off at the weigh scale and I'll be on my way. Yeah, roll me right on home tonight, back on Boundary Bay. I gotta keep on rolling, I got no time to stop. Gotta get back to the girl in White Rock. All right, thank you so very kindly. British Columbia truck driving song all about a guy rolling out of Prince George, and he's in a big hurry. He's got a girl waiting for him on the coast. So I've been singing that song for quite a few years. And at some point I figured I better write a second part to the story because I'm sure you're wondering how it worked out for this Prince George trucker. And even though he'd really been tramping on her, rolling through the canyon, by the time he made it out to the coast, he found that his girl had run off with somebody else. Yeah, sad song coming up. It's not an uncommon story in the transport business, though. So she ran off with a guy driving a wood chip truck for DTC Chambers. Yeah. And so now this Prince George trucker, he's hung up in downtown Vancouver, he's got a broken heart. He's down on Hastings Street, which is a pretty bleak place, even at the best of times. And it's raining, of course, it always rains in Vancouver. paint you a real pitiful picture. He's a cigarette smoker too, and he's down to his very last cigarette and last match, and he can't even get the match to light because of all the rainwater dripping off the brim of his hat. And the real estate's so expensive. He wasn't even going to buy a place, but he realized if he wanted to, there was no way he could do it. He's going to have to go to Smithers. All right. So, he's standing downtown Vancouver feeling just as lonesome as a British Columbia truck driver can feel when your girl has run off with a guy driving a wood chip truck for DTC Chambers. This is the Vancouver Blues. Same way that it was when it came to her and me. I'm high and dry on the downtown side, and she went back to Falls Creek. At the end of the pier with all of my tears and nothing but a broken heart, I've been hanging around gas town to find a place to fall apart. Back to Falls Creek. If anybody asks you where you're gonna find me for another week or two, I'll be sitting in a bar on Granville Street with the Vancouver Blues. Honky tonk. Sail away with me. I'm high and dry on the downtown side, and she went back to Falls Creek. If anybody asks you where you're gonna find me for another week or two, I'll be sitting in a bar on Granville Street with the Vancouver Blues. Where you gonna find me for another week or two? I'll be sitting in a bar on Granville Street with the Vancouver Blues. music from the West Coast. I guess since I've got you on the West Coast, we might as well go all the way to Vancouver Island. I'll sing you this salmon fishing song I wrote in Campbell River. There's a big sign when you pull into Campbell River that says, "Welcome to Campbell River, salmon capital of the world." But Port Alberta's got a sign like that too, and also Port Hardy. So this is from the salmon, one of the salmon capitals of the world. But they got some big different boats out there, trawlers and trollers and gill netters and purse seiners. So this is about the same boats out of Campbell River and French Creek out in the same more narrows. And I guess I'll tell you the story about a couple of brothers from Campbell River named Fred and Joe, and they were fishing out in the same old narrows. And the big deal there is when the tide changes, the current becomes quite treacherous in the same more narrows, so you can see all the boats lined up waiting for the tide change. So Fred and Joe, they got caught there in the tide change, and their boat capsized, and Joe managed to swim to shore, but Fred drowned in the ordeal. So it was Joe's job to tell Fred's wife the tragic news about what happened. So with a great deal of trepidation, he knocked on the door, and he said, "I got some bad news. I got some bad news, and I got some good news, and some gooder news." That's how they talk on Vancouver Island. And she said, "Well, what's the bad news?" She said, "Well, we went fishing, and your boat capsized, and your husband drowned." And she said, "Drowned? My dear husband, what a tragedy." She was very distraught, see? She said, what could possibly be good news in a circumstance like this? And he said, "Well, you know what, we did find your husband, and when we pulled him up, he had 11 of the finest Dungeness crabs you ever seen attached to him." And she said, "Well, what's the gooder news?" He says, "Well, we're going to pull him up again at 4 o'clock. Oh, it fog makes me shiver up in Campbell River. The strait is full of salmon once again. Fishing boats are ready, and we're all working steady. It's looking like another day of rain. I just can't wait to be out on the Georgia Strait with a hold full of salmon motoring home. No, there's nothing better than this old seine netter, and a four-man crew to call my own. We're chopping through the spray out from Oyster Bay. We wave at a trawler passing by. He's setting out his hooks, trying to catch them big Chinook. We gotta make the narrows before the tide. Though that fog makes me shiver up in Campbell River, the strait is full of salmon once again. Fishing boats are ready, and we're all working steady. It's working like another day of rain. Sockeye salmon. Wait till the current slows, then up through the narrows. The foghorns got us on our way. Past the lighthouse on the rocks, far beyond the sawmill docks. We'll make the trip on up to Humpback Bay. Now it's the running line, we're falling way behind. Roll the same net off the drum. Let's make another set and see what we can get. Packers waiting on this sockeye road. Though that fog makes me shiver up in Campbell River, the strait is full of salmon It's looking like another day of rain out on the west coast. It's looking like another day of rain. All right. Now, Canadian prairies. The flavor of the west coast there, so I went about as far as I could go on Vancouver Island singing my logging and salmon fishing songs. I ran into somebody that said, if there's something you really want to do in your life, you should give it 5 years. At 5 years, you wouldn't have any regrets. If it didn't work out, you could always say, well, you know what, I give it my best shot. So I thought, well, I think I'd like to be a Canadian cowboy singer. And I thought, if you want to be a big country star, you go to Nashville, Tennessee. And if you want to be a Canadian cowboy singer, you should go to Calgary, Alberta. I figured Ian Tyson was out here, and so I got an outfit together. I had an ad in the paper. Oh, look at that nice Western hospitality. Got me the wrong one. I'm not super fussy guy, but so I had an ad in the when I moved to it was her being fussy, not me. In British Columbia, we're used to this skunk ape sauce here for sure. Trade it. Nice job, thank you very much. This is why I like folk music so much. Okay, so I had an ad in the paper trying to get a band before I had a place to live when I got to Calgary. And of course, I always liked Ian Tyson's cowboy records, you know. And then eventually I even got to record there. Got a recording contract with Holger Peterson's Stony Plain record label, a label that Ian had put out all his great cowboys songs on, and we always found that every little hotel saloon we played across the prairies, there was always Ian Tyson on the jukebox. And so people always ask me what town this song is about, but this is kind of about every little prairie town we played, kind of quintessential, where the hotel saloons right across the tracks from the grain elevator, and there's pickup trucks in the parking lot, there's taxidermy on the walls, there's Ian Tyson on the jukebox. A big jar of pickled eggs at the end of the bar. Gotta have a jar of pickled eggs and never any tongs. There's an 18-point rack hanging above the boothills of the dancers, horn crews upon the floor. The cowboys have been drinking here since the Prohibition days. Oil booms and drought years pass through the place. There's a hedge and a rail out in front and another on the side. A long bar with a brass rail, bottles are right. The barmaid's name is Katie, and they say she's 80 proof. With Chinook arch in the west, the water pouring off the roof. Ian Tyson is singing Navajo Road. Ranchers in a corner are dealing five card stuff. Coyotes howling underneath the moon. Here at the hotel saloon. Just past the grain elevator, across the railway tracks, right next door to the Western store, saddle and tack. The sign out front says home-cooked meals, rooms upstairs. Something else no one can read, nobody seems to care. crews stop from time to time. Everybody's welcome here. There's hot coffee and buffalo steaks, bottles of beer. There's a cowboy band on the weekend and all of the hockey games. You can spend a night or spend your life and feel it just the same. Son is singing Navajo Road. Ranchers in the corner are dealing 5-card stuff. Coyotes howling underneath the moon. Here at the hotel saloon. It's 2 eggs up on whiskey toast, home fries on the side. Wash it down with Roadhouse coffee and it burns up your inside. Just as hungry Alberta dime, a waitress I did love. I sat in a backseat an old stuffed bear and a worn out Navajo rug. Jack, the boss, he quit sick, and it's Kitty by the door. She pulled down that Navajo rug, spread it across the floor. I saw lightning cross the sacred mountain, saw the woman turtle dove, and I was lying next to Kitty on that old Navajo rug. Sheds red and blue, Katie, whatever became more than the horror and you, Katie, sheds red and blue. Well, I saw Jack about a year ago. He said the place burned to the ground, and all I say was it's old bear tooth. Katie, she left town. Katie, she got a souvenir too. Jack's bad tobacco blood. Should've seen her come through the smoke. I'd reckon that Navajo rug. Katie, shades are red and blue. Katie, whatever became more than a whole rug. Shades of red and blue. They still play Wilf Carter here on a worn-out jukebox. A two-step or a shuffle or a Rocky Mountain waltz. There's horseshoes by the fireplace on the wall with the wagon wheel. When the mercury starts to fall, it warms against the chill. There's a cow horse at the rail, hitched up side by side, with a paneled truck, a horse trailer, and the snowmobiles in line. And it really does get busy here once the sun goes down. You ought to see it on the long weekend when the rodeo's in town. Singing Navajo Road. Ranchers in the corner are dealing 5-card stuff. Canadian tasting on the jukebox. Of course, we play all kinds of venues throughout the provinces, big festivals, jamborees, rodeos, community halls, and tractor pulls, and played in a welding shop, played in a barge, quite a few gopher hunting derbies. But we did play an awful lot of hotel saloons, and you know, it's the 50 weeks a year playing hotel saloons, North Battleford and all over the place. We're staying in Coaldale tonight. We used to play the Ventura Hotel. That was a particularly good sounding hotel. We always thought, man, why does our band sound so good here? But notice now, of course, so many of these hotels, even when we were playing them, you know, they were getting kind of passed from one old owner to the next, and a lot of the places burned down after we played there, some before we even got there. But you know, but those are pretty important places, you know. That was a big thing to new arrivals coming in on the Canadian Pacific Railway and get your trunk shipped over to the hotel saloon, and you have a drink before going off to World War I. If you're lucky, you have a drink coming back and all this stuff. And so it kind of makes me sad. A lot of the places we used to play all boarded up. Wish I could buy the hotel tavern, my favorite place to play. Wish I had just enough money to get her going again. Wish I could buy the hotel tavern, all that history. Sit on my granddad's knee and listen to the old ones play. And the open mic on Saturdays, oh boy, it was great. Yes, it got me interested. I learned to play the guitar, and I played my very first gig right here in this bar. I wish I could find the hotel tavern, my favorite place to play. Wish I sing here back in the day. Hey, drink and smoke and tell goofy jokes right at home at stage. Some even say he wrote the hockey song here back in '68. Man, I wish I could have seen it all, but damn it, I was born too late. I wish I could buy the hotel tavern, my favorite place to play. Wish I just enough money to get her going again. I wish I could buy the hotel tavern, all that history. Good old boys, good old girls, talk about good old days. I roam around from town to town, everywhere it's the same. There's a Grand Union Royal Queen right on the corner of Main. And I sure had a lot of good times singing in every one. And it breaks my heart she's falling apart, all boarded up and gone. I wish I could buy the hotel tavern, my favorite place to play. Wish I had just enough money to get her going again. Wish I could buy the hotel tavern, all that history. Good old boys, good old girls, talk about good old days. Wish I could buy the hotel tavern, wish I could buy the hotel tavern, wish I could buy the hotel tavern. I wouldn't change a thing, I'd keep everything just exactly like it was. All right. Lonnie from In Hampton, Alberta, we used to play the auditorium every Halloween for about 10 years in a row. See, there's another hotel boarded up and gone. All right, Charlie Ewing, your dad. We used to play these cowboy festivals. Charlie had some nice songs. Nice Southern Alberta song. Skimmerhorn Waltz, I think. Yeah. I was a Southern Alberta singer. I'd sing that one for you. But I'm an all Alberta singer. So I'm going to sing in my own waltz here. This is the Wild Rose Waltz. Wrote this song for Saturday nights. All the community halls, all the hotel saloons, all the little places we played up and down the eastern slopes. There's pickups in the parking lot, the full moon is bright. There's a dance at the Range Road Hall tonight. The band's tuning up and they're stalking the ball. The ranchers are coming from near and far. You fall in love here, that's nobody. gentlemen, one more song here. Feels like intermission time for sure. One more song, then we'll take a little intermission, and then we got a few more songs here. We haven't done anything from Manitoba at all yet. All right, if you like our Canadian country and cowboy songs, we'll take home a piece of the show here. We got stickers, we got t-shirts, trucker hats, we got CDs. And we don't have tariffs on any of this stuff. We don't do a lot of exporting. All right. Here's a little Alberta history here. This comes from a very dark time in Alberta's history. There was a prohibition law. You couldn't buy alcohol legally. But you know how it is. When there's a law, there's an opportunity. So this is about rum runners and whiskey bootleggers in the Crow's Nest Pass. The rum runners, they had big, fast cars. They called them the Whiskey Six. That's a 6-cylinder Buick McLaughlin car. The Alberta Provincial Police only had 4-cylinder Fords. This is how wild it was. I come across the border with a posse on my tail, trying to get back to the fork in the road where I first lost my trail. Left an empty bottle in a good hand, a stolen getaway car, running down the road with a poker chip and a 25-cent cigar. In a 1922 Buick 6 with a finger gone in the back. I'm the best of the rum runners on the end of Crow's Nest Pass. From Blairmore to Coleman, right on down the line. Police kept the road like check stuff over on the Ferdy side. I got a black mirror whiskey in the backseat and a whole lot more in the trunk. The boys down at the Frank Hotel can hardly wait to get drunk. In a 1922 Buick 6 with a fender gone in the back. I'm the best of the rum runners on the end of Crow's Nest Pass. Years ago, they surely took their toll. Working man can't live if true on food and water alone. Moonshine stills up in the hills and the law couldn't make them quit. So I filmed my car with opportunity. They run a bit. In a 1922 Buick 6 with a finger gone in the back. I'm the best of the rum runners up in Crow's Nest Pass. I was born with a chip on my shoulder. I'm scorned my family tree. From the head to the rim and a step away from the penitentiary. I run APP, I stay one step ahead. I made my fortune in demon rum on the Rocky Mountain West. In a 1922 Buick 6 with a finger gone in the back. I'm the best of the rum runners up in the Crow's Nest Pass. I'm the last of the rum runners up in the Crow's Nest Pass. I'm the king of the rum runners up in the Crow's Nest Pass. Okay, little intermission, get yourself a drink, and we'll be back with a shorter second set very soon.
Thank you.